In fact, because he didn't replicate this to the rest of the company, here's the state of the rest of the company. I live in Manassas, Virginia, okay? And about a year ago, 2 years ago, a 78-year-old woman named Mona, who was not being listened to by Comcast, went into the office in Manassas, took a hammer to all the PCs in the place, smashed them up and said, "Now will you listen to me?" That's the state of Comcast Cares. I'll give you the number. Bruce Temkin, right? Bruce Temkin, who is the leading customer experience analyst in the world. Guy's amazing, right? Does a service experience index every year. This year, 144 companies. Comcast was 143. Massive strategic failure. Why? Because they saw it as PR and not as a cultural change that needed to go on based on the success of what went on there. This is, we're talking about how this works. I'm going to go by this one because of time. We'll take it down to Procter & Gamble. Now, the other C you get, and again, people should ask me afterwards if you want about GIF-GAF, which is a small little company. That's an amazing story, but again, time is of the essence. So I want to tell you about how a not small little nimble company, but a giant conglomerate actually has done this in a way that's phenomenal. This is a company with 300 brands. 23 of them are worth over $1 billion. Right? It's huge. And everything started from this statement. We have to create a great experience every time you touch the brand, and the design is a really big part of creating the experience and the emotion. We try to make a customer's experience better, but better in her terms. That's the former CEO, A.G. Lafley, who transformed the whole company. In other words, everything stemmed from that statement, everything you're about to see. So you're talking about a company that's enormously innovative. And we're going to talk about something that affects the supply chain, and you're going to see how they use social networks here, which is phenomenal. There's a supply chain key performance indicator called pricing from the shelf back. You know what it means? How much would you pay for this product? And re-engineer the supply chain so it meets that price. Okay? So they have a network called Vocal Point. 600,000 mothers who have networks of 25 mothers each, at least. So you're talking a minimum 15 million people. So what they did is they went to the moms, and we'll assume for the sake of this they went to all of them, but they didn't. And they said, okay, moms, we have this product. It's $9.99. How much would you pay? Use it in your natural environment. Spread it to your networks. Use it. Comes back, $7.99. All right, Jake Barr, CEO of the Director of Supply Chain Innovation, re-engineered the supply chain, so it's $7.99. And they did that. And but what happened there? Invaluable feedback, marketing reach of 15 million people for the price of the product, and that's it. And in the meantime, a network that's committed because they feel valued because their information is being used to actually change the company that they buy products from. Massive. This thing has been so successful as a social network that it actually was spun off as a for-profit business that has its own CEO that does work with other companies. The other thing is product innovation with customers. Imagine this. You got an idea, you go to connect and develop, you say, Procter & Gamble, here's my idea, 3 things can happen. 1, they reject it. 2, they love it. They give you more IP from their IP, their intellectual property. They give you the IP you need to develop it more. They work with you to engineer it and build it, and then they market it with you. Or they say, well, it's not good for us, but we'll co-market it with you because we think it's a good product. That gives you, as an individual, as a customer, the ability to go and actually co-innovate with Procter & Gamble. So you have this enormous possibility, enormous things going on here. You see these products? Swiffer, of course, Magic Eraser, Olay. That's all customer-developed products, all of them. So what we're dealing with is a company that has numbers, they have metrics, they have powerful metrics, but they utilize social networks, they utilize the transformation, the communications differences in a way that leads them to massive success that they can measure. Their R&D productivity is up 60%. The key is, as of 2010, 50% of all the ideas of that company come from external sources. 50% of that multi-billion-dollar giant. Now, finally, we have to look at measurement. How many people here are familiar with Net Promoter Score? Large percentage. I'm going to make a simple statement. It's inadequate. I'm being nice, but it's inadequate. All right. And I'm going to look at why. So here's Net Promoter Score, and we know the question, right? Would you recommend my company to someone you know? And they have a whole process around that, and basically, ultimately, it's promoters versus detractors and a number. But I want you to think about something, because there's something that gave me kind of a combination of like an epiphany on the one hand and a duh, how could I not have thought of this on the other? You'll see in a second. A guy named Dr. V. Kumar comes out of Georgia State. He's a long-standing veteran of customer engagement and customer value and so on. And he took a look at customer lifetime value, which is basically a measure of the value of a customer and their family, potentially, over a period of time you ascertain will be their lifetime with you and your company and your product. There's a limitation to that, because what happens when you get a customer who might buy not so much, but at the same time is telling all their friends about it who are buying? So he invented a couple other metrics, one called customer referral value. And there are 4 questions associated with this. And here's the interesting thing. Question 1 is, would you recommend this company to someone you know? Can anyone guess what question 2 is? All right, I'll tell you. It's, did you recommend this company to someone you know? That was the epiphany and the duh at the same time, right? Because how could you not actually think of it? The number was like 34% who did, which means 66% said, yeah, sure, okay, whatever. Right? I mean, the other 34% actually did it. Question 3 was, did they become a customer? Question 4 was, are they a profitable customer? Now, the interesting thing about this is he did a survey of 16,000 people that responded, telco and financial services. And he found that ultimately it was about 17% actually became profitable customers, or 16% became profitable customers, which is enormous when you think about this. That's through referrals. So with that, I'm going to close with a short story about how that works in an era long ago and far away, 2002. A company in Colombia called Orbitel. It's a telco. And the CIO of Orbitel was this woman at the time, Olga Botero, just a great person. So she had this idea. She said, you know, we have some profiles of our customers in the residential side. What we ought to do is let's take every customer who's a CTO and give them high-value treatment. Even if they spend, 10 centavos, it doesn't really matter. We're going to give them high-value treatment. Think about her thinking there. I mean, how brilliant it was. A, she has a social profile of some sort on the residential customer, including their job, at least basic profile. B, she's saying, doesn't matter what they spend, because when they go to their business, if they're getting high-value treatment and they refer us to the business, we get a business account. They had, by the way, a 42% increase in business over 2 years, business accounts over 2 years. They attribute a large part of that back then to that. That's pre-Twitter, that's pre-social networks, that's pre-anything. But what it is exactly this thinking. So think about what we've talked about for a minute. We have social customers. We have people like us who are looking for people like us, and we're trusting people like us. We have businesses out there wrestling every day with this stuff. But at the same time, the problems they're wrestling with are just enhanced commitments for the customers that they have to achieve in order to keep those customers with them. And what we have now, because we do have social channels, because we do have ways of measuring this stuff, because we do have ways of engaging customers that we didn't have 5 or 6 years ago, is an increased opportunity to actually get not only these customers and keep them, but actually get them to go advocate for us, and we can even measure it. So we're starting to get to a point now where the business outcomes of all this incredibly cool stuff that we've all been tied to and love and have a great time with and woohoo a lot, right, is now actuality. It's tactical still, holistically, honestly. I mentioned Procter & Gamble. They don't call it social serum. They don't call it anything. And really, who cares what they call it? Who cares what anyone calls it, right? What does that matter? Right? What matters is you do it. So with that, I'll just say thank you. And if you have any questions, I am around.